Hello everyone, my name is Francisca and I'm here today to present a study on the challenges and gaps found in disseminating spaces that promote digital inclusion, which is part of my PhD thesis. So, I begin with this sentence so that you understand that for people with disabilities, technology is not just a convenience, but often a necessity to overcome barriers and facilitate participation, allowing them to be involved in various areas of society. It is therefore very important to promote the digital inclusion of these people. In Portugal and other countries, there are various spaces promoting digital inclusion, which focus on ensuring that people with disabilities have access to assistive technologies and other resources and services that allow them to increase their autonomy, independence, accessibility, communication, and quality of life. So, using a qualitative approach, we conducted 16 semi-structured interviews about the communication process of some of these spaces located in 3 Portuguese-speaking countries, Angola, Brazil, and Portugal. The interviews were conducted with key stakeholders from spaces such as disability support associations, research centers for inclusion, etc. After the interviews were conducted, they were transcribed and transferred to NVivo software, where we coded the data according to the structure of the interviews, identified the response patterns, and cross-referenced the data. This process made it possible to identify a series of gaps and challenges that affect the effectiveness of the promotion of the spaces studied. The results show that the main gap is the lack of communication strategies, with 25% of participants revealing that they do not adopt any kind of communication strategy. Other gaps perceived in this context are the lack of time to devote to disseminating these spaces, the lack of communication skills, insufficient financial resources, and reluctance to join communication channels. In addition, we also identified that the predominant dissemination objectives are to make the space known, followed by reaching people with disabilities and/or their families and caregivers. Finally, we realized that the predominant means by which these spaces disseminate their message are through a website and social media. The study shows that some of these spaces have been investing in their dissemination, but there are still several gaps. Our work highlights the need to fill these gaps and develop more effective dissemination strategies. By understanding the gaps and challenges faced by the spaces study, it is possible to develop specific communication strategies adapted to each context, which will improve the effectiveness of communication. With more effective communication, it is possible that the visibility of these spaces will increase and that the reach of people with disabilities will become more effective. This can naturally contribute to increase digital inclusion, because effectively disseminating these digital inclusion spaces makes it easier for people with disability to get to know them and to access and enjoy the resources that facilitate their digital inclusion and improve their quality of life. In addition, the results of this study can serve as a basis for the development of future communication campaigns aimed at promoting these types of spaces. The main limitation of this study is related to the disproportionate sample, which has much more representation in Portugal than in the other 2 countries studied, Brazil and Angola. Future work should address this limitation with a more equitable and representative sample. In addition, it will be interesting if future work could focus on understanding the impact of the dissemination strategies implemented by digital inclusion promoters. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now or later by email.